we're in the middle of the 2025 season, and there's already storylines galore, all right? We've got coaches not panning out, kickers getting fired, quarterbacks making some dubious decisions, and just all sorts of things that people can run with. But there's still one thing where every single time I turn on a game is just this glaring, ugly thing that I'm forced to just try to reconcile. And while I can appreciate certain aspects of it, like that the fact it's trying to limit injuries or that it's encouraging and borderline forcing returns, there's just something about it that just doesn't sit right with me. And while I think there's a ton of reasons that people are going to like this play, trust me, I have given it every opportunity, and I've covered it, and I've talked about good aspects of it and how the game is changing because of it. I just don't like the play. And I've come to the conclusion, after a full year of giving it everything I've got, that the NFL actually does need to reverse this. And why is not because of a personal distaste, but because I don't think it's a football play at all. But to truly understand why I feel so strongly about this play, we have to quickly recount the rules of the play so that way we have a launching point. Don't worry, it's not going to take too long. So for starters, the kicker is at the 35-yard line and must kick the ball into a specific landing zone that starts at the opposite 20. His kickoff unit will be set up in a straight line across the 40, with the kickoff return unit being between the 35 and the 30, with only 2 of those being allowed to be off that 35-yard line. From there, his return unit will have 1 or 2 returners back to field the ball, and the play will not start until the ball either hits the ground inside the 20 or the returner catches the ball. So from the jump, there's just a lot of things structurally that don't really mesh that well with the game of football. And it makes this whole play have this very weird, uncanny valley feel. Like the first thing from the jump that should just be very jarring is it's the only play in the game where both teams will have people lined up on the same side of the ball to start. I mean, I know that doesn't need too much explanation, but in football, one of its key changing factors is that the game is broken down into individual plays. And no matter how weird the formations are, how wacky they can look, one thing is always true. On one side of the ball is one team, and on the other side of the ball is the opposition. So to have now the opening play of the game, the play synonymous with the start of the season, to break this fundamental truth of the game, and some of the others that I'm going to talk about, just really feels wrong. With some others being that it's also the only play where the ball is moving before the players. This once again might feel a little bit nitpicky, but football, in every other play, the start of the play is determined by when the ball starts moving. This is the sign for you to go. There's no exceptions. And now this play once again becomes that random exception. But the one thing that I think makes it feel fundamentally weird on a structural level, how it's the most rule-intensive play in the entire game. I mean, just think about it in comparison to the previous kickoff. The rules were pretty much, all right, you guys have to line a maximum of 10 yards past where the ball is kicked, you guys can't get a running start until the ball is kicked, and don't kick the ball out of bounds. Heck, even for offensive and defensive plays that seem to have a plethora of specific rules, like you can't motion 2 players at the same time, a motioning player can't be running towards the line of scrimmage, and some others, for the most part, they are still at an alignment level very relaxed. If for whatever reason you wanted to run a goal line play where you had your running back lined up at midfield, you could. And here, aside from spacing laterally, you are completely kneecapped, and the return unit has the most say with how they align guys, but they are still very limited by only having 5 yards to work with. Also, the rules are just so weird and unintuitive. Like having 2 different types of touchbacks that come out to 2 different locations, a kick landing short of the landing zone arbitrarily going to the 40-yard line, and while I get it's pretty much a 5-yard penalty tacked onto an automatic touchback, but it also is something that is so weird in football, which is penalizing a mistake. Now you might say every penalty is a mistake, but that's not what I mean. It's like penalizing an incompletion or penalizing a bad snap or a player tripping. Like, I don't know if this is making sense, but it's different than any other penalty in the playbook. Like, not a mental mistake, but if you make a goofy mistake, you get a penalty for it, which just feels weird. Or think about it this way. It's the only time in any sport where you're getting a penalty for the ball landing in the field of play. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here, but at least in the major 4, soccer, baseball, basketball, and football, I'm pretty sure hockey too, but there is no penalty where the game object simply touches somewhere that is a regular part of the playing field. Does that not just feel wrong? And since we're talking about penalties, this one also grinds my gears because it is the only play that is also pretty much penalty proof, meaning that if there's a flag on the play before it, the only thing that changes is the least important part, which is where the kicker lines up. And the reason for this is because of the way that this play is designed so carefully around touchbacks and keeping the ball in the field of play that if you move back the kicking team 5 to 10 yards or move back the return team 5 to 10 yards, it completely changes the math on how effective it is on returning the ball drastically, as opposed to the old kickoff where nothing really changed except the starting point, which is why you could move the ball around with penalties. But if you take that incredibly spaced out coverage unit who is currently at the 40 and move them back an extra 10 or 15 yards, it gives the returner way too much time to get a vertical crease on that space. And if you flip it and start the coverage team practically in their lanes 20 yards from where the ball is getting caught, it is completely stifling. But the problems that I have with this play go well beyond the procedural, don't worry. It goes also into the essence of something that I feel like this play is lacking, which is the fact that it takes away the agency from the people with the ball. And you might already be typing, Isaac, we've already seen so many unique return paths. We've seen reverses, fake reverses, running different return schemes that are essentially offensive plays like traps, counters, and we're just scratching the surface of what kinds of returns we can run. And to that I say, that's not what I'm talking about. They're not the people with the ball. Yes, they end the play with the ball, but what I'm talking about is the people who start the play with the ball. You see, in a traditional kickoff, you can put the ball anywhere you want to in the field of play, however you want to. And while to many people this seems obvious, it affected that play heavily. Heck, when you look at a kickoff return unit pre-2024, they were lined up in a specific way to deal with every possible threat to a kickoff could have. You had your frontline guys evenly spaced out, which was typically 5 to 6 players, to make sure there are no meaningful gaps that could form for an onside kick. You had your backs outside the hashes around the 25 to 30 yard line to handle any pooch kick situations, and you had at least one person in the middle of the field or 2 people tighter to the hash before the returners to prevent any type of squib or middle pooch being left completely unchecked, and then of course 1 or 2 deep returners, typically with one returner being the primary one to cover most of the kicks, and then an off returner to handle anything kicked directly away from the returner. Return units had to line up not in just a specific way to set up a return, but they had to line up against the kickoff unit and ask themselves what would happen if they kicked each and every one of our 11 players on the team the ball, because there were kicks to design to hit each and every one of those 11 players. And while yes, the NFL had largely become a touchback factory because in my opinion, teams were too scared to go cover kicks, and yes, this play was creating concussion hazards, the spirit of this play was ripped from its body, and it's something that I find extremely problematic. But the worst, the thing that ultimately makes this play feel so counterintuitive to football, is that it broke one of the oldest, greatest tenets of the game, which was that you never just give the ball away. The one thing that I love about football as a game is that there is nothing, not a damn thing, that is given to you. Do you need to get the ball a single yard forward? Yeah, good luck. Oh, it's 4th and 40 and you just assume your offense is about to get the ball back? Not the case. Oh, you think your field goal is entitled to make it past the line of scrimmage? Over this guy's dead body. It's a game where every inch of this field has to be planned, plotted, and fought over, and as long as you had the ball to start the play, there was always a way to maintain possession. And the kickoff was no different. Going back to how you lined up on the kickoff return unit, if anybody is lined up in some dumb way, or they're missing a player, or they're out of position, just like any other play, you could punish it and get the ball back. And we had so many ways to do it. And yes, it pains me the NFL didn't really use any of them in a long time, except for the occasional surprise onside. But now you're no longer lining up to what the kickoff could do to you, but what you want to do to the kickoff team, which is 100% different than any play in football where you don't start with the ball. So taking a play like the kickoff and just removing pretty much all of the important elements of it that make it a discernible football play just so you can get something that somewhat resembles a kickoff will always have this uncanny valley feel to it. Maybe in decades from now, if it's still around, people will have forgotten or just stopped caring about it, but the biggest problem isn't that it's just not like the old kickoff. The problem is that it's not like football at all, and I think they need to find a way to change that. Now, I'm not sure what the best way to change that is. My gut instinct is to go with the safer special teams play, the punt, with the asterisk that if you can maintain possession of the ball 10 yards down the field, you get to keep it for a drive. Keeps in spirit the onside, keeps in spirit the special teams play, keeps in spirit opening up with a kick. But what we have right now is just not going to fly. I'd love to hear your guys' comments. Let me know below. Peace.